Well, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi calling President Trump's push to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison one of his stupidest ideas yet.
Yeah, there are reports that today Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum will be in the city with plans to tour Alcatraz. So this morning we have an opportunity to speak with Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, joining us live right now. Speaker, let's just get this out of the way right up the top. Interior Secretary Burgum and Attorney General Pam Bondi are coming there despite all of the talk that we've had over the weeks and weeks before this was first proposed about this being a silly idea. Sending in those two cabinet members is rather serious by the Trump administration. Are you now taking them seriously?
We've always taken them seriously because they're silly. I said this was the stupidest. What I actually said is, with stiff competition, this is the stupidest. But it's lined up against the cruelest. They want to spend money on Alcatraz when they're taking food out of the mouths of babies, adding trillions of dollars to the national debt to give tax breaks to the richest people in America and corporate America. And now they want to undo something that was shut down because it was too expensive to carry at the time. It's a national park. It has environmental requirements that will have to be addressed by Congress, and we will fight them every step of the way with litigation, legislation, and that. It's not that we didn't take it seriously. We were trying to save the children, and they want this to be a diversionary tactic from what they did in their stupid, ugly, cruel, nasty budget bill.
And that's what you're saying right there. So this is basically a distraction to take away from all of that. And there is a lot to talk about, too. You mentioned legislation required for, the island's environmental protections, as well as just the cost and what it would mean for us here in San Francisco.
Well, actually, Alcatraz is a tourist attraction, and the Park Service make money off of the fees that people pay to visit there. And of course, that goes to the federal government and the Treasury. For us, it is, quite frankly, let's put it this way. It's local, so everybody's paying attention to it. But what's also local and personal is what they're doing to America's families, working families, kitchen table issues. And for them, at the same day as the Supreme Court, their Toady Supreme Court has said that they could undo the Department of Education. Nothing brings more money to the Treasury than the education of the American people, early childhood, K through 12, higher education, post-grad, lifetime learning for our workers. And they're taking that away and taking billions from California on that. In addition to that, they are dismantling the Department of Education, so says the Toady Court. And so while terrible things are happening to what we are as the character and the culture of America and the health and well-being of our children, what do they want us to be talking about? Alcatraz. And so we are talking about Alcatraz, but we're talking about it in the context of the stupidity and the cruel, on the one hand, of this thing, because it doesn't make any economic sense, and compared to the cruelty of the opportunity cost of that money. At the same time as they're giving tax breaks to the wealthiest people in America, they've decided that instead of feeding the children, they're going to convert Alcatraz.
Is there some local bias that could be read into this? We know that President Donald Trump does not have a huge voter base here. A lot of people said that the second Trump term would be a vindictive term, a term of retribution. Is there a sense that this is a move also for mud in the eye of the Bay Area?
Well, it may be because that's it, what he deals in, mud in the eye. But the fact is, they say that the intellectual basis for this is a movie he saw decades ago, which is not reality, but it's a movie he saw. And so he's I don't know, maybe he's envisioning as a future Elba. Who knows?
I mean, just, when it's all said and done, how likely is something like this going to happen? I mean, a lot of us are just, thinking in the sense of, we live here, you grow up here. This has been a part of our, Alcatraz is really just a part of what you tell people when they come to visit. I mean, is this even likely, just given the amount of time and money it would take for it to happen?
No. No, I think that it will be held up, as I said, with litigation, with legislation. In a year and a half, we'll have a new Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. The Democrats will win. I can guarantee you that. I can't guarantee the Senate because I'm not on the ground in those races, but I'm hopeful that that will happen as well. But in terms of what it will take for this to happen, it ain't going to happen.
We're starting to see a lot of positioning and narrative setting for Democrats going into the midterm elections. We know that you're in the room. We know that you're aware of strategy. Are they going to add Alcatraz to the narrative to the American people to make the case that Democrats should regain control of the House in the midterm elections, sort of from a budget perspective, a spending perspective?
No, I mean, if our national message is going to be the kitchen table, people want to know how something affects them. There's a whole list of grievances that we have with the Trump administration because they have no vision that is loyal to the vision of our founders, no respect for the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform to protect democracy for our country and other countries as well, and no commitment to the aspirations of our children. So we're talking about people this isn't just Republicans and Democrats disagreeing. We've all had those disagreements and they're legitimate and they're to be respected. But this is a completely different value, no values, no vision, just money in the pocket of the first family and of the richest people in America. That's what this is about. So when we're out there with our agenda, we have to prioritize in a very cold-blooded way what hits home with these people. We can give examples, but in terms of the priorities, it's about their health, the education of their children, housing, which I consider to be a health issue, of course, our safety in our communities and the rest. And they cannot pass this off as a safety in our community issue. Better to spend the money, if they're going to spend money on the Department of Justice, on law enforcement, spend it in the community to protect our children.
Speaker, in the time we have left, we'll put Alcatraz aside. We also know that overnight, members of Congress were very busy on the Recisions Package that claws back a lot of money for, among other things, public radio and public broadcasting. It now goes to the House. The House has, 24 hours to get it done? What is going on there from your perspective relative to that Recisions Package? Do you think it's going to pass today and get signed by the president? What are the impacts? You say people care how it impacts them. We'd be remiss to not ask you about what happened overnight.
This is terrible. This is, again, the cowardice of the Congress. We have the cowardice of the court and we have the cowardice of the Congress. The Republicans are simply afraid of Trump, and this is ridiculous. And you know what? It hits really hard in the rural America, where many of his votes are. Rural America depends on Corporation for Public Broadcasting for their news and the rest. A. B. For Medicaid, they'll be shutting down hospitals. So this is not in this bill, but it's what was in their ugly bill. And then on top of that, our soft power in the world. Viruses, all the rest, they know no borders. So when we say we're not supporting the World Health Organization and we're not funding initiatives for addressing starvation, hunger, and all the rest.
We're going to have to jump in. I apologize. We are up against the commercial break. Speaker.